Hi guys, I wanted to talk to you today about the iterative nature, the iterative flow of the catalytic thinking framework. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. This looks familiar to you. This is the flow of catalytic thinking, the flow of causality. And what you see here looks linear because causality is linear. This leads to that. This creates that. But people are not linear. And we know that it's not about the thing, it's about the people. And so when we're using causality, the power that we have, the decision that we get to make is, are we going to use causality or sort of just go with it? Are we going to react, which is just going with it and letting it go where it goes? Or are we going to use causality to create what is possible? That is where we get to be generative and iterative in how we use the causality framework, understanding that it is linear. So what I want to show you is something that I was working with just the past few days, which is preparing for a meeting. And as we have talked about, you can use catalytic thinking for absolutely anything, and we use it here for absolutely everything. So I was planning for a meeting that we were going to have about a new Facebook group that is all about a community of practice for people who want to put their toe in the water of catalytic thinking. So I started with the presenting situation over here on the left, and that is a meeting of this new Facebook group. And I asked the for whom question. What will this make possible and for whom? Listening to what people have told us through catalytic listening about what they want. So I was specifically preparing for the participants, the people in the meeting and the people who were going to listen to the meeting afterwards. We knew that they wanted to get a taste of catalytic thinking. That was a lot of the outcome that they had been talking about of why they were in this group. They wanted to try new things, put a toe in the water, get a taste of it, know more. Part of what we wanted to make possible is that they feel part of a community. And also over on the right here, that they feel confident that they can do it. And so we started to work backwards and say, okay, what do they need to feel in order to feel part of the community? They need to feel welcomed. They need an opportunity to know each other. Oh, well, what will create that? Well, we can ask them in the meeting, what drew you to this community? What drew you to this meeting? They want to know more. Well, part of what will help them know more is they need to know and understand and have resources where they can learn more. Oh, we can encourage them to subscribe to the e-journal, etc. They want to know more, and we want them to feel confident that they can do it, and they want to know more. They need to know what it is that they're confident in doing. And so we said, well, at the beginning of the meeting, I need to preview that we're going to model catalytic thinking in the meeting so that they'll have a sense of that. Said, oh, prepare this ahead. You can see that there in red. I'll prepare this ahead and make sure that we go step by step over what we're going to do in the meeting. And then they need to know what it is that they feel confident in. And well, then, maybe we need to teach a little bit of catalytic thinking in this first meeting. Now, where we would have gone if we were going through the framework and we were just not using catalytic thinking, we would have reacted, because suddenly we need to teach catalytic thinking is a new presenting situation. See, we can see it as just, we're going to teach and that's an action. We'll just figure out what do we want to do. At any point, we have the power to go, oh, we can ask, what does that make possible? Anything has the ability, especially if it's an action, to be a presenting situation all over again. And so that is exactly what I did as I started to look at this question of, oh, well, if we're going to teach a little bit of catalytic thinking in this meeting, that becomes the new presenting situation. That's where it's iterative. That's where we get to move the flow back up. You know how we've talked in classes about how when the conversation starts to sink down and get narrower and more doing and more reactive and potentially more argumentative, we always have the power to bring it back up by asking what it would make possible. That's what I did here. I moved from, this was already an action. Notice I had everything in red here was actions. But I moved here to say, if we were to teach catalytic thinking to the Facebook group members in this meeting, what would that make possible? Well, they'd feel comfortable to contribute during the meeting. They'd be excited. Participants would be excited and confident to try things. Okay, well, what would they need to have? What would they need to know in order to feel confident? They'd need to know that they can try. I needed to put that into the meeting. What would they need to feel comfortable to contribute during the meeting? Well, they'd need to know what expectations are. They need to know the theory behind why do we use catalytic thinking. They need to know, okay, what is it? But they need to not get a deep class in it. They need to just have an overview. Okay, so for the theory behind the why, they need to have maybe why we developed it, that it came from our own frustrations, why it works, that it's research-based, that it's rooted in the sciences, that it's rooted in history, what the core tenets are, because there's only 3 of them. That's an easy thing to share. When it comes to what is catalytic thinking in a very, very high level overview, that it's a set of practices that brings out the best in people, that it's rooted in causality, that it's rooted in compassion. And what wound up happening is I used that entire list to craft what I was going to teach them during that meeting, which took 5 minutes, maybe 7 minutes for me to just go over a quick overview. But again, rather than looking at that as an action and saying, okay, what will I teach? Okay, now what am I going to teach? No, didn't do any of that. Said, okay, I'm going to teach something. What will that make possible? And start it all over again. So yes, causality is linear. And that's why the framework looks linear. But we people, it's not about the thing. It's about us and how we use it. And we have the opportunity to use causality through catalytic thinking. That's the decision we get to make all the time. We get to make the decision to use causality to create the future we want rather than be reactive. So I hope that helps clarify, and I'll see you guys soon.